Hi out there. It's me, Breanna, and I'm with Sam, and we're gonna host at the same time somehow. What's your opening statement?
Um, what is my opening statement? I'm so used to like the intro video playing, or not playing on my end. Good cut. Good cut. We're off to a
Sam
good
said,
start.
Sam had to keep him on his toes, so here I am doing
You're
my
not wrong.
job. Alrighty. Okay. I also wanted to say, just so there's like a feeling of security, I am recording a backup version of this just in case.
Good. You're safe, viewer/listener.
We've lost a lot of good episodes. Probably the best we've recorded, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay. You are listening to No Limits, a PlayStation podcast. Remember, you can find us the video version on youtube.com/save the game media. And while you're over there, please subscribe to the channel. If you'd rather listen to audio, we are on all your favorite podcast services, and we would really love it if you could leave us a review. It does help us grow, and we love feedback. And what about the Patreon,
If you
Sam?
want to support and get early access to all Save the Game Media content, you can head on over to patreon.com/save the game media and choose the tier that is right for you. Just like our current patrons did. Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mum, Brianna's brother, Lindsay, Nikolai Knight, Cypher Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, David Hotwright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Alpaca Tom, and Lee Navarro. Thank you all very much for your support. Again, that's patreon.com/save the game media. Check it out for exclusive content, including our fantasy draft, which we'll be recording shortly for 2024. You can also check out our YouTube at Save the Game Media and interact with us in the Discord. All of those links are in the show notes below.
Besides the link to the YouTube.
Well, yes, because that is, of course, assuming you're on YouTube. And if you're not, and you're just listening to this, you can find the YouTube at Save the Game Media. It's very easy.
And you can, if you go to the YouTube, you can see our cute faces.
I mean, that's debatable, but
You saying you can't see our faces?
what? Oh dear, I'm very tired.
It's gonna be a good time. I did want to say in the Discord, just because I was thinking about it, David Hotwright is in the Discord, and he posted pictures of his cat, and his cat is adorable. So if you want to see cute cat pics, Kevin posts his cat. I post my cat. Taylor sometimes posts his cat. She's very cute. So yeah, come check that out.
Cool.
Sam might post his dog at some point.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Sam, what have you been playing recently? What have you been up to recently?
It's been a week. I've been very busy, very tired. Those two aren't necessarily directly correlated. I haven't really been playing much of anything. No, let me have a look and see, because my brain isn't working right now. Trying to think what I would have talked about last episode, because I talked about Pathless and stuff, right, and beating Bramble and all of that.
You did.
I have gone back to Village a little bit, RE Village. Trying to work on the mercenaries mode thing.
Can I ask for Village?
Yes.
Where would you number it? Because I think you said that you liked 7 a little bit more, right?
In terms of like overall narrative and vibe, yeah.
Okay. Have you played the remake for 2 and 3?
Mm-hmm.
And have you played 4 as well?
No, no.
Okay. Uh, where would you rank 2 and 3 as compared to Village? Just out of curiosity.
I mean, three's at the bottom.
Yep, that's so true. It's not even funny.
Then I would probably say, oh, that's interesting. Depends on exactly like what angle you're tackling it from. But if you're just talking everything summated together,
Mm-hmm.
it would be three at the bottom. Then probably Village. Then 7. Then 2.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you might like 4 then.
Hmm?
It sounds like you might like 4 then, if you like.
I think so. I mean, I love the original when I played the original, or the HD re-release or whatever it was back in the day. I like that, and I probably will get around to playing 4 remake. Might even do it in VR.
Ooh.
That'll be interesting because I've heard good things about that VR version. You know, Capcom, they've been keeping the VR space alive. I think they go uncredited in that regard. RE7, excellent VR mode.
Mm-hmm.
Village can attest as well, excellent VR mode. And everything I've heard about RE4. I mean, I know it was on like Meta or Oculus, one of those two. Are they the same thing now? I can't remember.
Mm.
There was a version of the re-release on that, but the VR version of the remake is exclusive to PlayStation VR 2, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think Capcom deserve more credit in that regard. They seem to be pretty good at VR, or like building games that work well both in and out of VR.
Mm. I
So,
played a very short, um, I think I played the demo slice for 7 in VR,
mm,
and I got really motion sick.
yeah, because they
So,
released I can't remember, was it called Kitchen? There was like a demo, like a real like teasery kind of demo for RE7 way back in the day. I think that was playable in VR, and it was just
the
like you were tied to a chair or something.
oh yeah, it wasn't that one. It was the tape because
Yeah,
they
the
just
actual.
released just the tape by itself.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was that one.
yeah, yeah. No, you know, keep an eye on them. I'd say in the VR space,
Hmm.
Capcom are killing it. Anyway, what have you been playing?
Um, what have I been playing? I don't think I've played any video games this week besides League of Legends. The new season started, season 2024. The map is updated. If you guys are listening and you haven't played League in a while, they updated the map, and specifically if you're a top laner, they kind of fixed top lane so that it's not like the gank pressure isn't as bad.
Mm,
They kind of like widened the lane and switched the ways the rocks are formed around the lane, which really helps, especially if you like playing people like Keo, who is really susceptible to ganks. So they did that. There's a new champion coming out, I want to say next week or sometime soon, and they're releasing Earth again on February 7th. So yeah.
mm,
I think that League's the only game that I've played. I've been reading.
fair,
Been reading Harry
fair.
Potter fan fiction.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
It's
even
absorbed
going to
my
ask.
life.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
this one in particular is really really good. It's really really incredibly well written. Some
Mm,
of the best writing I've ever experienced.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's all I'll say. So yeah, that's what I've been doing all week is reading that because there's two books in the series. One of them's like 200 and something pages, the other one's 300 and something pages. Um
Jesus.
yeah, there's one that's called, if you know fan fiction, there's one that's called All the Young Dudes. That's like it's fan fiction of like Sirius, Remus, and James, and like their years through school, and that's like over 1,000 pages, I think. And I've heard it's really good, so I'm gonna read that one at some point. But anyways, that's what I've been doing, and yeah, I need to play
Both,
games. Somebody brought up
yeah.
Coffee Talk again, and I wanted to. I was like, oh, how come I haven't played that? It's weird,
Ethan
but
is probably seething that you haven't played it yet.
probably.
Because he was the one that was like ranting and raving about it,
He,
right?
yeah, he recommended it. He was like, Brandon, you'll really like it. And then I bought it immediately. And then I
Mm,
haven't played it.
yeah,
I think he told
sounds
me to
about
buy
right.
it in like April.
Yeah, sounds right.
Hey, I play games.
Yep.
I've been playing,
Yep.
oh, I've been playing a little bit of A Little to the Left. There we go.
I've never heard of that.
It's really good.
Huh?
It's like an organization game, kind of. So which sounds boring, but it's like it'll have like really interesting ways to solve the puzzle. It's very satisfying if you like to like 100% things, because there'll be
Hmm.
different ways to solve each puzzle. So it's incredibly satisfying. So yeah, there'll be stuff like sorting books, sorting tools so that they all fit in like a garage, stuff like that.
Mm.
I think you'd like it.
Never know. I'll have to
Um
look.
anyways, so we've got some news.
Before you do that, though, I
Oh,
did
okay.
have something I wanted to say because probably there's not going to be like a necessarily great place to bring this up, and I don't know. I mean, well, I suppose it was just because it didn't cross my mind. We were talking last episode about like what the year looks like for PlayStation specifically.
Terrible. I'm just kidding.
Well, I thought I was like, what do I actually think if I had to like write down bullet points of what this year is going to look like? What do I think it's going to be? And I've got it on a post-it note,
Oh, wow.
and I would like to read it aloud as if
Okay.
I'm a small boy in a choir. I don't know why that was the example I chose. I'm running with it. So, first and foremost, something that people wouldn't necessarily consider when they consider a year of PlayStation is the new CEO. You know, Jim Ryan's on his last few weeks really now.
Limping out.
Well, you know, I mean,
I'm
he's
just
he's
kidding.
he's pulled
He's
off
done
some
good
home
things
runs,
too.
but I think that it's not going to be Shuhei. Um, I'd much prefer him being like the weird giddy guy on Twitter
Hmm.
that's always posting about indie games that he loves. Um, I think it's going to be Eric Lampel, which is the SVP currently. Like a notable name and some that some people may recognize if they see a picture of him, but also relatively under the radar. But he's been there for a long time, and as SVP, I think that is a relatively safe bet of like who could go from senior vice president. I think that's what he is, up to the CEO. That seems reasonable to me,
I mean,
particularly as they are continuing to strive to base PlayStation more and more in the West. It sort of makes sense that they'd go for another American CEO.
yeah, I would agree with that. Um, I have a picture of him here at the
Yeah,
Last of Us thing.
it could be a complete unknown
He's a
that we don't
dude.
know, but a white guy as well, so that fits the criteria.
He
Um,
is, yep, very white.
he's
Uh, Imagine just like a white dude with brown hair And that's him.
Yeah, so I think that he's going to be the new CEO. I've changed my perspective slightly on the showcase thing. I think we're going to get a big one in April.
Okay.
I think they're going to have the big deluge of the third-party exclusives in the first couple of months, and I think they're going to get ahead of the curve in the same way they did last year, but go even earlier, and do a big splash with the announcements we wanted to hear last year. I also think that PlayStation will make 2 acquisitions this year. I think one will be a studio, and I do think one will be a publisher. As much as that's not really how Sony does business, I think that it's kind of getting to the stage where they might need to. So I said I've got 2 options for each. I said studio. I'm sticking by my guns. I'm saying Remedy.
Okay. I think that's a good shout.
Because the games they're making perfectly fit into the wheelhouse of what you would think of as a PlayStation Studios game anyway. And it would add a bit more variety in terms of genre. You know, it is a third-person shooter and stuff, but it's horror and it's weird and it's out there and it's doing innovative things. But I also put Shift Up, which is the Korean developer that's making Stellar Blade, because they could probably be gotten quite cheaply, and they entered like a publishing agreement with Sony recently as a second party, like an official second party. So I feel like that is indicative of how Sony usually does business, where they bring a third party and essentially make them second party that is developing just exclusive games for the PlayStation, and then after a success or 2, then they buy them. I think that if Stellar Blade does come out this year and it's received relatively well to very well, which I think it has a decent chance of doing from all indications, I think that could be a very easy, snatch and grab, and they would have a success under the belt as opposed to buying like Haven before they've even put out a game or anything like that. Publisher, CD Projekt. I know they said recently they're not interested in being acquired, but that is exactly what you say when you are kind of courting the idea of being acquired, because then you get bigger offers. And you would think I would say Square Enix. No. Square Enix is hit and miss at best. And yes, Final Fantasy is a franchise that would be excellent to bring fully in-house, but they kind of already have that anyway. It's synonymous with PlayStation regardless. I do think, talking about them not that long ago, I do think Capcom is the smart move. I think Capcom are just on fire right now, which means they would be pricier than Square Enix. But I think that PlayStation have gone for like Evo and the fighting tournament scene. You bring Street Fighter in-house, not necessarily exclusive, of course, but it is under your umbrella. Street Fighter 6 killing it currently. You get Resident Evil. You get the VR support, right? VR expertise, that stuff. I think they're a good get. And you get tons of other like IP and franchises that's lesser well known, but I think that's a good target. And a spicy thing, I said we're going to get an exclusive first party game in Q4 that we don't know about currently. It could potentially be Death Stranding 2. I don't think it will be, but it could be. I do think, though, that it has a higher likelihood of being Team Asobi. I think it feels about right that they could announce a full-blown Astrobot game, and I would expect that you could play it in VR if you wanted to. in the same way Astro's rescue mission was. I think that is the game. I could also maybe, depending on how big scope and scale it is, I could maybe see Blue Point's next thing being announced early this year in a showcase, release late in the sort of autumn/winter. I think that could work as well. But then we've seen Death Stranding we've only seen it once, right? No.
Well, so the
Twice.
first Death Stranding game we saw for quite some time before it actually released.
We did, but
So
you would imagine that Death Stranding 2 was the game that he started working on immediately after shipping Death Stranding 1, right? So, and Death Stranding 1, like, admittedly, considering he had to build the studio and then release the game, that was like a span of like 4 years, I think. I think Kojima Productions was 2015
I don't
that it
remember
got
the year,
founded.
unfortunately.
And then Death Stranding was 2019.
So I have to ask.
Yeah.
Feels like, how did you get so much written on one sticky note?
I mean, like,
I'm
you know,
just
like I have
kidding.
like small writing.
I'm just kidding. Oh, and a drawing thing.
No, that's just there's a little picture of Spider-Man's face
Oh,
in the bottom
okay.
because they're branded sticky notes.
I have PlayStation
I'm
sticky
not
notes.
that good at drawing, unfortunately. I wish I was.
I am terrible at drawing.
Yeah.
Where am I? Right here. I have controller.
Alas, but I wanted to say all of those because then this can be bookmarked, and then I can
Okay,
say I
don't
was
forget to
right, I
bookmark
was
it.
right, I was right, I was right. Well, I've got the sticky note. I'm just going to keep the sticky note. I wrote this. It's on
Make sure you
record.
laminate it.
I did this. You know, we're recording on the 14th of January, but I wrote this before then. I can't remember what day I wrote it on. Timestamp. It's here. I did it. It's not a scam if I come at the end of the year and say I was right on everything.
Can I ask?
No.
So you said April. Why not March?
Because I think if you go in March, you are stepping on the toes of a lot of the third party releases that you've got lined up for these first few months.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Rebirth, Helldivers 2, Rise of the Ronin, I think you clear all of that, then you have like a few weeks at the very least where it's just people are enjoying the games, and then you come in and say something. Because Xbox have the developer direct like in 4 days, I think, from time of recording.
Mm-hmm.
So they get to announce and show some games this early. I think that the narrative is already pretty dire in terms of like PlayStation's short to mid-term prospects in terms of first party. I don't. We say I don't think they can wait till June. They can, but I think if they're savvy, why not? Because E3 isn't a thing anymore. You don't need to do that. And if you go a bit earlier, you can then showcase another trailer of a thing you've just shown off, or a new thing at Summer Games Fest or whatever, a month or two after your showcase.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
that's why I picked April. Also, I just kind of, I don't know, like I look at PlayStation, just the logo, and I look at April, and I'm like, that goes together. Maybe it's because it's the fourth month of the year, and PS4 was so dominant. I've just figured it out. That's why. Take it to the
Wow.
bank.
Okay. Very well. Okay. So I'm pulling off of a TV Insider article just so that we can have all of the casting in one spot. But we are talking about The Last of Us Season 2, which is expected in 2025 ish. So, of course, we have Daddy of the Internet, Pedro Pascal as Joel still, Bella Ramsey as Ellie. One of the new pieces here is we have Caitlin Dever
Mhm.
as Abby. I will say, as I had said in the Discord, I saw her in No One Will Save You on Hulu. It's an incredible film, and she does so. I think she is incredible in that film. That film is basically just her. There are other people, but they are few and far between. So it's basically her just solo acting an entire movie, and she carries the whole thing, in my opinion. Like, she does fantastic. So
Oh,
that movie is so good. It's so
yeah.
good.
I haven't seen her in anything. I've seen her around, obviously, because I sort of, as an actor, I pay attention to the entire industry, but haven't ever really managed to spot her in anything. I did look through her IMDb, and I was like, maybe I saw her in something a while back and didn't notice, but nothing's ringing a bell here.
Mm.
Um, you know, may God have mercy on her soul. That's all I'll say. Fair play. You you would imagine that during the casting process, she has been debriefed without spoilers, like full on spoilers. She's
Oh,
probably
she
been
has to be
debriefed
told.
on the amount of hate she's probably going to get, um,
Mhm.
just for having the cojones to play this role. Um, but no, I think I, not that I've looked that much. It does seem there's a bit of discourse talking about like she's not bulky enough, and I don't
That can
know.
be fixed very easily if they're really that worried about it.
True, and also
Not
I
easily, but
like
with work.
I don't know how actually integral to the story that aspect of Abby's character is. Like, because in the game, again, without spoilers, the point of her being like swole is that she has neglected all of the other relationships in her life to pursue a specific goal.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you can just cut out the swole part, and that sentence still works. That Abby is a person who rejects and deprives all of her relationships in her life to pursue a specific goal. And let's be honest, to do the specific goal, she doesn't have like the prerequisite. She doesn't have to be like bulked up to
Mm-hmm.
do what she does. So, like, I guess what I'm saying
No,
is
I
it's
mean,
only really for authenticity's sake for her to get swole. I don't think it's compulsory for the character.
I would agree with that. However, if you're, well, I was just about to say, if you're considering some of the later stuff in the game, then maybe it would be a good idea for her to be swole. But then I remembered that Bella Ramsey is kind of small as well. So it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think Bella can pass off because Ellie is quite gaunt normally anyway. Really,
Yeah.
very lanky and thin.
Yeah, no, I think she'll be great, but I just was thinking like I was like, "Oh," and then I was like, "Wait, I guess it doesn't matter." Um,
Yeah, yeah. I think she looks the part as much as you can.
mhm.
Um, I and put it this way: they did such a phenomenal job with the casting of season one
Yeah.
that if this is the person they've chosen to play Abby, I have complete faith.
Mhm. I would agree with that. Let's see. Mason and Druckmann did share a statement reading our casting process for season 2 has been identical to season 1. We look for world-class actors who embody the souls of the character in the source material. Nothing matters more than talent, and we're thrilled to have an acclaimed performer in Caitlin to join Pedro, Bella, and the rest of our family. So,
Hmm.
so there's one of the statements. Next we have Jesse as young Mazzino. Most notably from Beef. If anybody's seen that, I have not, but I do know Beef
I have.
was really big last year. So
Yeah, it's very good. I watched it mainly for Stephen Yeun, but yeah, Young Mazzino, he he didn't like blow me away, but I understand. I mean, Christ, he's practically a spitting image of Jesse. Like, I don't know. If you had told me that young Mazzino was the face capture for Jesse, I'd
Mm-hmm.
believe you. Like, they, like, even just the facial structure is like so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like, even though he wasn't like my favorite character or anything, I still think that the performance he put in was very strong. Everybody on that cast was strong, to be fair. So yeah, excited for him that, you know, Beef was really his first major thing, and he's gone on to do this. And Jesse is a very interesting character. So
I do
that's
want to
cool.
shout out, because I was looking at his IMDb. He was in one episode of Prodigal Son, which ended up, full disclosure, that show was canceled. Just like full disclosure there. However, if you want to watch an incredible example of how you do the first episode of a TV show, I thought it was so good. And I studied that episode for my film writing class. So
Oh,
my screenwriting class. It was good. Fantastic first episode.
yeah.
Okay, last we have Isabella Merced
Mm-hmm.
as Dina. I kind of echo the sentiment that she really does kind of look like Dina. Like, it kind of freaks me out too.
I guess I might be in the minority here. This one is the one I'm least enthusiastic about. I don't really see Dina in her, but then
Really?
I think it's because I have to contextualize it. Like, let me finish. I have to contextualize that Bella is our Ellie in this show, you know?
Yeah.
So when I then think of Bella alongside Isabella, that makes more sense. But when I'm thinking of Ellie and Dina specifically from the game, I'm like, I don't see that. But then, of course, I don't really see Ellie in Bella, but Bella made it her own character and stuff. So again, I echo the same sentiment for Caitlin. Like, if this is the person they've chosen them for a reason. Isabella is getting like so much work right now. It's kind of absurd. She is cast in the latest Alien film. She is going to be
Superman
in
Legacy.
the new Superman film coming out as a hero. She is obviously in this, and there was something else that I'm forgetting.
She was in Dora.
She played Dora the Explorer, which is obviously a highlight of her career, I'm sure. Yeah, she's
That
got.
where you were
Oh, she's
going
in
for, right?
she's in the new Madam Web film, which is going to be the best film of the year, I bet.
No idea what that is.
So you know how like Spider-Man is technically like he's in the MCU, like Tom Holland's version of him, but Sony is still making like Spider-Man adjacent films that are centered typically around the villains, and it's like origin films about these villains, but none of them have Spider-Man in them.
Like the Venom one?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And Morbius and stuff, you know. Craven the Hunter is another one coming out. Speaking of like Spider-Man 2, that's relevant. Craven the Hunter is coming up late this year, I think. Madam Web is like another one of those, and she's playing a spider person in that. So she's her dancing card is pretty stacked in terms of work. So I personally haven't seen anything she's done, but if she's getting that much work, she has to have something going for her in the acting department. So really, I outside, well, I suppose I've seen Young in Beef, but that's like the only thing I've seen him in, so I don't have too much to compare against. But I like that they've gone for like established names, but not super famous names, you know.
Yeah.
They're on that fringe, which I kind of like, where I'm not just going to see a different character that they've played. I'm like, I just can't unsee them.
Yeah, they
I
cast
like that.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, I know, right? As Abby. I think it's going to be fun to see all three of these actors and have my idea of them going forwards being like their Abby or their Dina or their
Mhm.
Jesse. I like that.
Well, so I sent you in Discord. I sent you an image of like her kind of like acting in something
Hmm.
as compared to Nina.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I get it. It's in the same space, I guess. But
uh-huh.
I suppose I'm also coming from a position, and this is very unique to me, I guess. I have followed since The Last of Us 2 came out the actual face actress for
Oh,
Dina,
okay, yeah.
and she's an actor herself. So I'm like, I know there is a person that looks like Dina. Obviously, she didn't do the voice because it was Shannon Woodward who did the voice of Dina. But I was like, you've got an actor that looks exactly like Dina and was part of the production for The Last of Us Part 2. And I know that, she might not necessarily have the same acting chops as Isabella. Obviously, I wonder if the face actress actually did try and audition, maybe. But yeah, like I see this one less than I do the other two. Because
Yeah.
I do think that Caitlin has a bit of a tomboy kind of look to her, which works
Mm-hmm.
well for Abby. And like I said, Young is basically like you've taken Jesse out of the game and put him in real life. That's insane. But no, I'm still looking forward to her performance as Dina. Like
Yeah,
regardless, I'm not trying to
for
poo-poo
sure.
on it.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I forgot to read these other quotes. So for Young, they said Young is one of those rare actors who is immediately undeniable the moment you see him. We're so lucky to have him, and we can't wait for the audience to see Young shine in our show. And then for Dina, they said Dina is warm, brilliant, funny, wild, funny, moral, dangerous, and instantly lovable. You can search forever for an actor who effortlessly embodies all those things, or you can find Isabella Merced right away. We couldn't be prouder to have her join our family. So it sounds like that
Mm,
was a pretty obvious casting for them personally. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
especially
That's
like
cool.
again, I haven't seen anything of her, but if you're talking like
You
from
should
a
watch Dora.
business perspective, it does make sense to have like if you manage to get somebody who is like a rising star, like up and comer, going to be in a lot of big things, particularly by the time that this season comes out, that's going to be a big boon to draw in audiences,
Mm-hmm.
whether they saw her in the Spider-Man film or the Alien film or the Superman film or whatever, you know what I mean? Like all of those films, as far as I'm aware, are going to coincide roughly around or shortly after the release of this season. So a lot of eyes are going to be on her over the next year or two. So it makes sense that if they can get her for this and she fit, which obviously she does, then it's why not, as that quote kind of implied.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. One thing I wanted to say because I went on this weird tangent down the internet, as one does. Did you know that Adam Scott is going to be in that Madam Web film?
Yes,
I didn't
yes.
know that, obviously, because I didn't
He's
know the film
uh he's
existed.
playing Ben Parker, who use
Hmm.
Uncle Ben. Yeah,
Yeah,
a young
interesting.
Uncle Ben.
I like it.
Never going to see that
Um,
film. Never going to watch it. Don't want to watch it. You should seriously, like, just for a laugh, look up some of the trailers for Madam Web. They are, I mean, the trailers for like Morbius and stuff were terrible, as was the film. But like Madam Web is something else. Just as a tangent,
okay,
I highly recommend it.
I'll check it out. Okay, next one here is the PlayStation Plus game catalog for January.
Mm.
Um, I'll just run it down really quick.
I
Um,
can I can say him.
okay,
You did that. You did that first one.
okay.
Share the load. So uh, we have Tiny Tina's Wonderlands next level edition, which includes additional stuff. That's like
Mhm.
a spicy version of it, which is interesting. I don't know if we've seen too much of that. We typically just get like base versions of games. I guess there might have been like Game of the Year edition versions of older games, but for
Yeah.
this seems strange or like out of the common practice, which is cool. I'll keep going down, but I really like Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I had to work on it for IGN. I mean, I'm a big Borderlands fan anyway, but Wonderlands is a good game. Highly recommend it if you're into the loot shooter type of thing. Resident Evil 2 remake. That is a hell of a game. If you're going to play any game on this list, please, for the love of God, play RE2. We have Hard Space Shipbreaker, which is something I'd never heard of before. It's a sci-fi physics sim game, which doesn't sound up my alley. But you never know. Never say never. I might try it out. We have Lego City Undercover. Damn it! I just bought this game. It was on very cheap discount though, so I'm not too angry. It cost me like £2. It's fine, but it's always the way. It always happens. So we've got that for PS4. We have Just Cause 3 for PS4, another great game. Session Skate Sim for PS4 and PS5, not for me. We have Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun for PS4. Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song for PS4 and PS5. Please, for the love of God, do not play that game. It's not good. Surviving the Aftermath for PS4. And then as part of the premium classics catalog, you have Rally Cross for PS4 and PS5. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, PS4 and PS5. That's going to be a nostalgia blast for me. Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, PS4. Talking of Capcom. Legend of Mana, PS4. Speaking of Square Enix. Secret of Mana, also Square Enix. And that's it.
Okay.
That's it. That's all of them.
How you feeling?
I think, like I said when the news first hit in the Discord of this update, that it was a pretty great month, and I stand by that. I do think it's a pretty strong start for the year. I will say that the more I look at a number of these games, the less interested I am in them. But and I have played a fair number of them. Like, I have dived in a little bit into Lego City Undercover because I like Lego games. I've finished like 100% in Just Cause 3. Obviously, I've played Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song. Don't do it. And of course, I've played RE2 and Tiny Tina. So basically, all of these games I've played and finished and platinumed, etc., etc. So there's not a lot for me, but even if it was just RE2, I'd be like, this is a fire month. So the fact that you get like Wonderland's special edition stuff and a bunch of these other games, I can't really say that this isn't pretty great.
Okay. Something you said brought up a question for me. What is your favorite Lego game then?
That is a very good question. If
somebody was only going to play one Lego game ever and it's like your favorite, you're like, I got to recommend this one.
I wonder why you're asking this question. I can't fathom why.
Because you said you like Lego games, so I was curious.
I'm actually kind of blanking on all the ones I've played. Let me get back to you on that.
Okay.
I'll look them up and I'll check I'm not forgetting anything, because I've played a lot of them.
While you're looking that up, is there anything else you wanted to say about this lineup?
I appreciate, and obviously this is different compared to like the monthly games where we get 2 or 3 games for free a month. But I like that this is quite broad in terms of variety of games. Like that is typically the case for the catalog updates each month we've seen, but this is like surprisingly diverse. Like a Lego game, you've got a open world in Just Cause 3, you've got a skate sim, you've got a physics-based sci-fi game, you've got a RE2 horror third-person shooter, you've got a first-person looter shooter, you've got tactics games, you've got a deep RPG narrative game, got like a base building-y stuff. So there's a lot of different types of games here. There's probably, generally speaking, something for everyone in this catalog update to at least try. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all else I'd say.
Okay. I don't really have anything to add. I think that I hope everybody finds something to play. And if you haven't played Resident Evil 2, I will echo the sentiment. It's a really, really, really good game. So,
Mm.
especially if
I've
you're getting it with your membership, just play it. Come on.
Yeah, I've remembered what my obvious answer would be. Um, I will give a shout out. Lego Marvel Superheroes, very good game. But I do think, and it's going to be like such an obvious answer, but I think based on quality and the amount of content that you get, stuff, I do think Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga is probably the like objectively the best Lego game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I had a lot of fun doing that, going through all of the films
Mm-hmm.
in Lego form. Um, I think it kind of has to be that answer, really. I know some people didn't like that game, but I did. The like Lego Harry Potter games were fun. I liked the Lego Lord of the Rings. The original. If I'm going nostalgia, if I'm going nostalgia only, it would be Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy, which was I played the living hell out of that game on PS2. Um, but like you just get a better version of that in Skywalker Saga, so
Mm.
that would probably be my answer.
Mm. Okay.
And then of course Lego Fortnite because that's so cool.
I've been playing Lego Fortnite with my brother.
It's just I've had to play Fortnite for work for IGN to cover like updates and events and stuff. And it's just like the Lego thing does seem cool to be fair, but I don't know if I can make myself do it.
Mm. I'm glad I didn't invite you to play then.
Yeah.
um. So yeah. Uh. Okay. The next thing that I wanted to I was going to say I have played the Lego Lord of the Rings. Anyways, that was what I was
Mm.
going to say. Um. Okay, so we just wanted to talk briefly about layoffs. I'm just going to touch on each point here
Sure.
briefly from what I can find in our news stuff. So we have layoffs from Lost Boys Interactive, which is the co-developer on Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and other titles that employed around 400 people. The studio is a subsidiary of Gearbox, owned by Embracer. So yeah, massive layoffs there. Discord is cutting 17% of its workforce, which is around 170 employees. Let's see, what else do we got here? We have, I know that there was a Twitch layoff. So let's see. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through here. Where is the Twitch one? Did I scroll past it? Unity has layoffs. 25% of its workforce there, which is 1,800 employees. And
Well done, Unity,
they've called it a company reset.
because that's going to work. Yes, I think the problem with Unity is the fact that they needed to get rid of the people trying to keep the company from just completely exploding
Mm-hmm.
after the executives made real dumb decisions, arguably some of the dumbest decisions I've ever seen in any corporation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, cutting all those people's jobs and putting their livelihoods at risk. That's what's gonna turn things around for you. Well done, Unity.
Yep. Anyways, I can't find the other one, but I think there was one other company. I think Twitch had layoffs as well.
Yeah, they did.
Um, so yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned it because it's horrible and people need to be more responsible. And
2024 is going well.
God, did you see all the craziness in Japan? It was like it was like earthquake, plane catching on fire,
Yeah,
like stabbing, another earthquake, tsunami. The usual.
yeah.
Um, okay. This last one here that we wanted to chat about, this article that I pulled from VGC is just talking about Sea of Thieves, but we've also seen rumors about Hi-Fi Rush.
Hmm.
So Sea of Thieves could be released for PlayStation and Switch. This is from Tom Ivan. And let's see. Last week, the Nate the Hate podcast said Microsoft was planning to bring one of its quote more acclaimed and quote first party games to competing platforms this year. Responding to this claim, Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb said Rare's Sea of Thieves could be set to make the jump to Sony and Nintendo's consoles. Sea of Thieves, I'll say I've heard that was one that might be coming to other platforms. When I first started hearing these rumors, I was like, this is probably about Sea of Thieves because I've heard that one could come to Switch and PlayStation. Sorry, that quote got me. In his new industry letter, GameFile, former Kotaku editor and Axios reporter Stephen Totilo also
Totillo,
said
yeah.
Totilo, okay, said on Monday that he'd been told by a source that Microsoft had considered bringing Sea of Thieves to PlayStation, possibly for an early 2024 release. So yeah, basically story being it
Xbox is
seems like
dead.
yes. No, it seems like seems like Xbox is leaking out into other consoles.
Which we've both been on the train that Game Pass is not a sustainable thing long term with the growth that it's seeing, or should I say not seeing. And if Xbox and Microsoft are so adamant on taking two of the biggest publishers in the industry off the table within 3 years and seemingly not being prepared to stop at that, it was inevitable that they were going to have to port out some of these things, and they couldn't stay exclusive because and people seem to like not fully understand this point. Yes, they've got all these things, they can make money off of these things, but Game Pass isn't exponentially growing in subscribers. Their console sales are plummeting, and full price game sales are essentially non-existent on the ecosystem. So all three of those things combining together with the fact that PlayStation and Nintendo have much larger install bases this generation and last generation, let's be honest, that means that Xbox don't really have a choice if they're interested in this publisher acquisition thing, which they've done twice now and nobody else has. So people, like, obviously the fanboys are going to get upset. That's just going to happen regardless. But like, I've said to multiple people in discussions online across different forums and stuff, I've said, I've kind of been beating the be careful what you wish for drum for a long time. Like, you're like, oh yeah, we got all these IP, all these franchises, all these exclusives. I'm like, well, yeah, you get them day one on Game Pass, but that might be the only advantage that you get. Like, yes, okay, I might have to buy Hi-Fi Rush for like 50 quid or something if it comes to PlayStation, which I probably will do quite happily. But do you really think that Xbox is going to be looking at a Game Pass subscriber and like a 50 or even a full price 70 purchase? Those two things don't equate. Essentially, eventually, of course, the Game Pass subscription will level out. But realistically, based on user experience, most people bounce between subscription services. They don't stay attached because Game Pass isn't growing. So, like, this was kind of inevitable to me. And I think at the same time, I think Xbox have kind of forced themselves in between a rock and a hard place because they have to do this to make money, like, because otherwise they will eventually just lose and close down the division. Because Microsoft will gladly shut down the division than lose like hundreds of millions or billions eventually of dollars on this, that they won't just continually lose the fight and try to cling on in the hopes that something will turn around.
Yeah.
If the winds don't change, they would eventually back out. That's just how business works.
Can I just have to say, like, I'm already annoyed at what Xbox players are going to say. They're going to be like, oh, PlayStation players are funding our free games.
Yep.
I'm already annoyed.
Yeah.
It hasn't even happened
Yep.
yet, and I'm annoyed. So
Yeah,
just want to say,
because
let's just get
but
that
like
out of the way now.
at the same time, people are somewhat downplaying the. I think personally, and I'm trying. I don't want to be hyperbolic, but I do think this decision and this seeming direction Xbox might be heading in more and more is catastrophic from an optics perspective. Like catastrophic. Because this move, even if it is relegated to a specific set of exclusives or a specific type of game, it's not going to increase console sales because people, you realize, and some people might say this doesn't matter, but it really kind of does. Xbox will now be the only platform out of the big three that only has that platform's games. Because PlayStation will have their entire library and Xbox games, even if it's only a few of them, and so will Nintendo. Xbox will just have Xbox games because there's no. I mean, I suppose I should ask. I don't see a world where Sony and Nintendo are going to reciprocate in any fashion
I
because
don't
they
think
don't
they
need
need
to.
to. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, they don't need to. I don't think that any of the like the PlayStation exclusives, like I don't know, Spider-Man, Returnal, so on and so forth, there's no reason to go to Xbox, right?
Yeah.
I will say I think that perhaps some of the smaller experiences, I don't think that Sony would necessarily be bothered if it went elsewhere, like Stray, stuff like that.
I mean, that has already crossed over, I think, hasn't it?
Has it? I don't know.
I think
That's what I was
I think
saying. Is
so.
just a stuff, small stuff like that. I think would be fine, but
But I mean, also that isn't first party.
no.
Whereas
No,
Hi-Fi
it's
Rush and Sea of Thieves is first party Xbox. Or Stray was just a third party exclusivity deal. So I think that there is a difference there. I get the sentiment though. Like I'm with you. Like if, say, Media Molecules next game was a smaller, slightly more experimental, kind of like a Hi-Fi Rushy kind of thing. Not saying
not.
it would. You know what I mean? I could maybe. I think of any of those games see something in that vein. Maybe go to other platforms. I mean, obviously we're getting like Marathon is on Xbox and stuff, but PlayStation owned Bungie, but it's a separate division underneath Sony. It's not specifically a PlayStation studio yet. So that is a slightly different situation.
Yeah.
But I could see like maybe if they do go in a bigger live service multiplayer push to whatever degree, I can maybe see those games eventually, maybe not day and date, but coming to Xbox later. But like again, the issue is what's the incentive to port it to Xbox? Because the smallest console market, they aren't really going to get a lot of game sales because all the Xbox gamers are, generally speaking, I don't want to overly generalize, they'll want it to be on Game Pass. And yes, there could be a deal made where Xbox pays PlayStation a ludicrous amount of money to get a game, not day one, but whenever it does come to Xbox, that it is in Game Pass. But I do think that PlayStation will just want the full price sales. And at that point, there's just no point in putting it on Xbox, to be blunt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't see it happening. Like in an ideal world, what Xbox is doing is great. Put more games in more people's hands. Everybody gets to play the games they want to play wherever. That's great. But
But that's not why they're doing it.
the nature of the industry dictates that that can't really be the case if we want it to be sustainable in the way that it currently sort of is. Obviously, we're seeing mass layoffs and stuff. Things do need to change, at least on a AAA level. But generally speaking, the gaming industry is making more and more money all the time. So it's not going to go anywhere. But I do think that exclusives play a much bigger factor in keeping the market as it currently exists alive, more so than some people would give credit. like I was listening to an interview or like a chat with Jez Corden, who's like the editorial manager at Windows Central, I think. He was talking with Destin Legary, actually, from IGN on Destin's personal YouTube channel, talking about this, and Xbox's third party, and they were saying, well, there's just no world where Halo is going to end up on PlayStation. I'm like, well, are you sure about that? Because it's a slippery slope that Microsoft is introducing, where if the sentiment is to get higher exposure to an IP, even if the intention is to then gate off the sequel to said game as an Xbox exclusive for however long, even if it's timed, surely that sentiment would apply to every single Xbox game. Like, if you want more eyes on Hi-Fi Rush or more people in the economy of Sea of Thieves, why do you not want more PlayStation players playing Halo Infinite's multiplayer? Or why do you not want a bigger sales figure for Gears of War 6? There is a slight gap in logic there, and that is a very fine line that Xbox is going to have to walk, and they've done it to themselves. And it's admirable, but I just don't think that again, it's kind of like what they did with the Xbox One. They were very forward thinking. What they were trying to do is like always connected online, and it's an entertainment center and stuff. And people were like, we don't want this. And obviously that has become slightly more normal now. It kind of feels like they're making the same mistake again, whether they're like trying to be progressive and push towards a new future for the games industry, but the rest of the games industry isn't even slightly close to where Microsoft seemed to try to be.
Yeah.
So I worry that it might blow up in their face again. Time will tell, but this is uncharted territory.
Pun intended.
It's rough waters. That's better for Sea of Thieves.
Oh.
It's got my blood pressure high and my adrenaline rushing.
What about the 5?
Five Guys.
I have a Five Guys not too far from here.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is it's so interesting to me. I think this is one of the most precarious things I've ever seen, at least in recent memory. Because there's just not been anything like it.
No, there really hasn't. There really hasn't. So.
And some people say like, well, Xbox brought the Ori games to Switch. I'm like, well, that's not quite the same, because again, Moon Studio isn't first party. It was a third/second party exclusive that was then ported. So that's almost the equivalent of a Stray. Obviously, Ori is slightly bigger in scale and stuff, and far more popular, but still, we are verging on new ground. And I mean, Xbox changed the game by getting into the publisher acquisitions, and they're seemingly going to try and do it again, but I don't see how this grows Game Pass subscribers. I just don't.
I almost I'm not saying necessarily that like Microsoft has the power to do this, but I think between like Microsoft and Embracer, it feels like they're kind of like cannibalizing the industry a little bit. Yeah. They're like devouring a bunch of studios, then like destroying those studios and firing people and using other consoles to fund their service.
I mean, like, talking of layoffs, people seem to forget that, yes, last year was horrific in terms of layoffs, and, Bungie and stuff and Naughty Dog, they were affected, and people were like, PlayStation is dying. forgetting the fact that at the beginning of last year, Xbox and Bethesda let off 10,000 people in total, which is significantly more than any of the Sony layoffs combined. And it's not a competition. I'm just saying, if you're going to throw that kind of criticism, you need to be equal in your criticism. You can't be completely one-sided. And also, like, just to be clear, I think that it's worth clarifying. I, at the very least, and I'm sure this goes the same for you as well, I want Xbox to be competitive. Like, I want them to thrive, because if they do this and I see console sales not improving because I can get most, if not some, of Xbox's games on PlayStation, even if it is a year later, and I'm not going to be incentivized to get Game Pass because playing the games day one when they release isn't enough to really buy into the ecosystem for me. And I'm not going to buy games full price on the Xbox ecosystem, even if I'm in it, because I've got Game Pass as too enticing of a prospect. I am really worried that Xbox at some point, not necessarily short term or even mid term, but maybe long term, leave the business, and then PlayStation is essentially the sole player in the traditional console space, and then they can nickel and dime us as much as they want. And you can argue that they're kind of doing that now, and I don't entirely disagree, but it would get so much worse. So I'm not being like, Xbox is stupid, they're going to kill themselves. Oh no, I'm actually like, I want them to succeed.
Yeah.
Not to the detriment of PlayStation, but in service of. They serve each other. Competition breeds good things for consumers. And I don't see
Mm-hmm.
this as competition. This is almost, to me, like waving the white flag, but trying to hide that you're doing it. It's just, it's strange to me.
Yeah. We'll see. I think that like the biggest indicator for me is if this trend, if one, this is true, and two, it starts bleeding into other games. Like if it's just these two games and it never happens again, fine. But I don't think
But like
that's going to be the
realistically,
case.
it's not gonna just be those two games. Why would it be?
Yeah.
Which is
Well,
the scary thing. It's scary.
all right, we'll see. Okay. Anything else that you wanted to chat about today?
I think that's it.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll let you guys go then. I hope you have a lovely week. We will see you next week. Before we go, Sam, where can people find you?
Anywhere and everywhere at Sam Heaney, Heaney.
Okay. You can find me at Fabulous Brianna, FABULASTBREANNA. You can find us at Save the Game Media or on Twitter/X Save Game Media. Come join the Discord. Come join the Patreon. You can join just $1, genuinely. So do it.